Terminating decimals are decimals that stop or they end. For example, 0.436, it stops. Negative 13.04, it stops. It ends. It terminates. The number 8. I mean, technically speaking, that's a decimal, isn't it? 8 point what? 0. We just don't write it. But it's a decimal that stops. It ends. And the other type of decimal that we talked about is a repeating decimal. What about repeating decimals? What do you know? Tanner? They never end. And what about them never ends? There's something special that they never end. What do they do? Safi? Yeah. They repeat the same pattern forever. They never stop. Ever. An example, 0.333333. Remember, you put that ... because can I just keep writing it forever? No, I've got stuff to do. That ... means that it continues to go. 0.454545454 ... It has a pattern, and that pattern repeats forever ... Repeating decimals are kind of a pain. So since they're kind of a pain, repeating decimals can be written using bar notation. Have you seen bar notation before? Instead of writing 0.333333, ... I'd write 0.3 repeating with a line over it. Instead of 0.4545454 ... How would you write that one? Jesus? 0.45, because the 45 repeats, right? And the line goes over what repeats. Have you learned anything new yet? Not really, right? This is all pretty much a review. All right, let's talk about what you're going to do for homework tonight, which is a little bit new. You're going to be converting decimals to fractions. There's going to be a decimal, and it's going to say, write this decimal as a fraction. Well, remember, there are two types of decimals we've been working with. There's a terminating decimal. And terminating decimals are easy to write as fractions. 0.1. How do you write that as a fraction? 0.1. Kat, how do you do it? 1 over 10. How'd you know?
Because the 1 is in 10 place.
Yeah, if you read it correctly. Instead of saying 0.1, if you said 1/10, you just wrote it as a fraction. If it's a repeating decimal, zero point 3333333 ... It's almost as easy. You're going to write it in bar notation. If it's a repeating decimal, you're going to write it in bar notation. After you write it in bar notation, you're going to read it correctly. And last but not least is you're going to subtract 1 from the denominator. That's the rule. If it's a repeating decimal, you write it in bar notation, then you read it correctly. And whatever the denominator is, you subtract 1. If it's 10, you subtract 1. If it's 100, you subtract 1. So let's try it. This decimal, written in bar notation, would become 0.3 repeating, correct? If I read it correctly, it's 3/10. But my last rule, since it's repeating, is I have to subtract 1 from the denominator. So instead of 3/10, what is it? 3/9. And some of you are going to say, well, 3/9 simplifies. You're right. What does 3/9 simplify to? 3/9. What does 3/9 simplify to? Alexis? 1/3. There you go. Safi? No, you drop the repeating sign. She asked, do you keep the repeating sign? So would you put the line above the 3 up there? No, you can just drop it. The last part, this is the last thing for your homework. And then when you're done writing this down, you can put your notes away because the bell's going to ring soon. Fractions to decimals. Converting fractions to decimals. This is like if I gave you your homework back. If I gave you your homework back and you got 8 out of 10 right, the fraction 8/10 is on your paper. Kids are always like, what grade did I get? You divide the numerator by the denominator. Converting fractions to decimals. Divide the numerator by the denominator. 8/10. Divide 8 divided by 10. I'll put this picture up on our classroom, okay? Change in homework, ladies and gentlemen. Your homework, only do the last part, 16 through 32. Deal? Goodbye, I miss you already.